Salam,
Oke,
boleh dengar?
dengar. Sekejap lagi. Alright. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can everyone listen to my voice?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning to everyone. I'm Dr. Malik Arman, Deputy Director for E-Learning Unit at the Center for Professional Development IIM. I will be the moderator for today's session. To gain the barakah for today's event, let's start with the recitation of Ummul Kitab Al-Fatihah. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to our special webinar today. Our webinar will be about unlocking student success, innovative strategies through eSoTL, and will be presented by Associate Professor Technology Dr. Zuhainis Saad. A little bit educational background. She holds a PhD in microbiology from University Putra Malaysia, a Bachelor of Science with honors, double major in biochemistry and microbiology from University Pertanian Malaysia, and administration post. Her current position is she is the director at the Center for Academic Development and Leadership Excellence, University Putra Malaysia. And the previous post, she was the director at the Academic Excellence Division, Departments of Higher Education, Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia, Head of Department Microbiology, Faculty of Biotechnology and Biomolecular Sciences, University Putra Malaysia. And these are some of the advisory posts. Current position, she is the advisory member of the UK Malaysia Universities Consortium Project Board, and her previous post was adjunct associate professor to Faculty of Applied Science, UCSI University, advisor Center for Academic Excellence and Development, University Kebangsaan, University Malaysia Kelantan. Advisory panel, Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, University Technology Petronas. Honors and awards, Associate Professor Technology Dr. Zuhainis has received over 50 awards for her excellence in teaching, research, and educational innovation. These include some of the worth mentioning is winner of the Higher Education E-Learning Maestro Award in 2023, winner of the Anugerah Akademik Negara Kelompok Sains Tulen National Academic Award for Pure Science in 2018, awarded Excellence Educator, Vice Chancellor Fellowship Award 2017, winner of the Creative and Interactive E-Learning Award 2016. And among others, she earns like multiple gold, silver, and bronze medals at national and international innovation exhibitions, awards for immersive learning, gamified education tools, and MOOC innovation, recognized by the QS Wharton Reimagine Education Awards as finalist in 2015 and 2016, honored for her role in curriculum transformation and the development of high-impact educational practices. These are her areas of expertise: microbiology and biotechnology, environmental and agricultural microbiology, e-learning and educational innovation, self-regulated and peer learning in higher education. These are some of her contribution and involvement in scholarship of teaching and learning, which is related to our topic for today. She co-authors SoTL related books like Assessing Hearts in E-Learning, among university students in Malaysia in e-learning and interactive lecture, eSoTL case studies in Malaysia higher education institutions. Practices of interactive lectures among lecturers in UPM in e-learning and interactive lecture. She is also highly sought after speaker in both national and international academic circles. Her engaging presentations span topics such as innovative teaching and learning strategies, immersive and gamified education, microbiology research and applications, higher education policy and leadership, digital transformation in teaching. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to invite our honorable speaker to deliver her talk.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Malik, for that kind and lengthy introduction.
It was
I'm
short, actually.
very
It's supposed to be very long.
no. That's why I was wondering, where did you find the biodata? Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I saw Prof. Mira. Thank you so much for having me, the Director for the Center for Professional Development, IUM, and Dr. Malik, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here this morning. I'm honored and humble for being here, for having this opportunity to share with you um, about eSoTL. Coming from a microbiology and biotechnology background, I'm sure that in terms of the scholarship of teaching and learning can be quite a challenge, or something that a matter of something new for uh, those who are not in the educational background. So for today, I'll be sharing what is SOTL and what is eSoTL, and the how we can enhance, or the title given to me is Unlocking Student Success um, through eSoTL, right? So I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So unlocking student success innovative strategies through eSoTL. Um, First of all, when we discuss about SoTL, okay, SoTL, or Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, is a systematic study of student learning, and when we talk about systematic student learning, it will involve evidence. And that evidence can be in the form of in the form of many in many formats, in many forms. It can be in the form of testimonial, reflection, and this approach of study of scholarship of teaching and learning is for us to improve, to reflect and improve our teaching and learning. And that practices, that reflection, that reflective practices is to be shared to all in public, in also in many forms. So it is actually involved from small scale of study or investigation or research that include, like, for example, classroom surveys, interviews, and focus observations. And I'm sure that all of us here have done this, a small scale sort of. For example, when we have a pre and post survey for our students to perhaps understand the topic, or to gauge their understanding on the a specific task that you're going to give them, or you you've convey or you make understand to them on how they all of you are learning together, all of us are learning together with the student, and how can we improve this, right? So SoTL, Scholarship for Teaching and Learning, it is although when we say that it's systematic, it deliberate and methodological inquiry into teaching. So how the behavior, the practices, the reflections, and the values that the most important thing is for us to improve student learning. And Lee Shulman, in Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, said they are prepared to confront the ethical as well as the intellectual and pedagogical challenges of the work. So we thought that, by designing or redesigning our assignment and our task, that, this is the right way to do, this is the correct way to do, and this is the best way to do. That is all our assumption. And they are not prepared to be drive-by educators. They insist on stopping at the scene to see what more they can do. Okay, so it's all about how the data or the findings or the evidence from the study that we implement can actually improve our learning, improve our approach in teaching and learning to help students to learn better, to help students to have a more meaningful learning. Okay, so there are many. If you look at SoTL, although in 2000, I think the first uh, define when they define SoTL, it was at first scholarship of teaching. Okay, and that was in 1999. And starting to 2011, the scholarship of teaching had been in grown for post-secondary. And if you can see, now this is by the Washington University in St. Louis. That was in 2013. And if you Google it, you can find it many in the images. But it started with the scholarly teaching. That means how you assess your pedagogy, assess your approach, and then with uh, you reflect and you discuss with the students on the approaches and how we can uh, improve or be better, and then you modify. That's scholarly of teaching. And but scholarship of teaching and learning involve sharing the findings, and you the students also give feedback not only from students but also from peers. So, and lastly, the process is to share with others. Okay. And when you share with others, that means you publish, it can be in the form of a blog or in journal or in newsletter. The most important thing is it need to be shared, right? And this is by Deakin University, scholarly teaching and SoTL relationship. SoTL producing the scholarship of teaching and learning, and it's all about giving a quality learning experience. And um, although this is by Felton 2013, the principles of good practice in scholarship of teaching and learning, inquiry focused on student learning. So when we talk about inquiry focused on student learning, nowadays we are talking about Gen Z student. I'm here actually today with a workshop with the Ministry of Education on the blueprint for education 2026-2035, from preschool until post-secondary. And you can see that, how we are working together with many stakeholders, how to improve our education in Malaysia, focusing on student learning. And we are talking about the next 10 years, the next 15 years of from now Gen Z to Gen Alpha, Gen Beta students, learners, okay? And these future students, they are the characteristics, they are digital natives, they are now born in the AI world, for example. So our focus as in a 21st century educator will be on how teaching them what not teaching them on what to learn, but on how to learn. How to learn. And when we design our teaching and learning through SOTL, it will uh, give a strong foundation in designing our teaching and learning, grounded in the context, and it has to be methodologically sound. Um, it can be a small scale from the classroom framework to the larger scale of the research through research grant, for example, and conducted in partnership with students. Well, when we talk about teaching and learning, it's not just about teaching and it's not just about learning by the students, but together with the students. And it should be appropriately shared to the public, right? So this is the 5 principles of good practice in scholarship of teaching and learning. And when we look at that was 2013, and now, for example, this is in 2024, last year's paper by the Utrecht University on roadmap for scholarship of teaching and learning in published in the International Journal of Academic Development. And almost the same. You see, for example, you need to have reasons and context. It means you have to be focused and identify what will be the grounded in the context. And then analysis of teaching and learning, researchable teaching question. Step 4, research method. What will be after you have defined, you identify the context, and then what will be the research question, and what would be the research method that is suitable, then you start planning for the approach. That's where you proceed with your learning activities, teaching activities. At the same time, collecting data and analyzing the data and do the reflection and dissemination. So it's the same process. Later you will see also, this is actually based on the filtering just now, 2013 process also, just modified by the University of Utrecht sort of Center for Teaching and Learning. So what does it do? Why do we need SOTL? Kelly and Chris say that this is for ourselves, is for self-fulfillment, personal interest, and how being try to be the best teacher that we could. It can also, for me personally, reflect this reflection. It is a reflective practices that help me to understand better the approach that I'm doing. And at the same time, the most important thing is to whether or not it helps the student. And we think that what we do is an innovation, but perhaps to others, it's just like business as usual. And in the classrooms, although now when we talk about student-centered learning, or my approach is student-centered learning, or my approach is interactive lecture. It's not about that is a supposedly to be a culture anymore. It is supposedly is supposed to be a culture already. It's not that, we have to choose student-centered, or we have to do lecture. No, it has to be a student-centered all the way. There is no dedicated, oh, I'm doing this SAL today, right? I'm doing this interactive lecture. It's the approach it has always been to be an active learning approach, right? And although we introduced, I think in 2005, when we start to talk about student-centered learning, but now is 20 years later, it's all about getting students to involve active learning, participation, learning by doing, and how we innovate is very important so that that can improve our teaching and learning, impactful or meaningful learning for our students. And we are talking about 20 years later after we introduced student-centered learning, right? And from scholarship of teaching and learning to eSoTL, what is the difference? How do we use technology instead of the normal approach of doing what we call as action research in the classroom? So through eSoTL, that means we are using digital tools, we are using technology, and now we are using AI, for example, for eSoTL. So that we can capture more, they capture rich and continuous data from not just through our classroom, uh, synchronous physical lecture or activities. We can also capture those in the virtual learning environment. Okay, that means through our system, our LMS, through our even through WhatsApp, for example, or through social media, to all the other online learning platforms, right? And there are many now the data can be real time. Okay, that data that we can gather can be real time, and this will actually help us to uh, uh, execute or implement this in a the study in a very fast manner through feedbacks, instant feedback from our instructors, lecturers, educators, and students, and this through eSoTL, it can accommodate many, provide many opportunities, working together with other institutions, across institution, working with transdisciplinary courses or programs, and that data sets, the learning analytics and the data sets we can analyze in many forms, and we can leverage on the technology that are available right now compared to SoTL. Okay, that's the difference between SoTL and eSoTL. So in eSoTL, okay, when we use online data, capture it in the online environment, there are many approaches, right? But there are some what we call as guiding principle or core principle when we want to do SoTL. We need to ensure that the students first, we want to make sure that we're okay. I come back to when we talk about student-centered learning, right? Before this, the perception of student-centered learning is like, oh, we have to give them tasks. And the most popular student-centered learning that we have heard is through presentation. And then comes in this flipped classroom, right? Flipped classroom. And there are many educators who actually misunderstood flipped classroom. When they say flipped classroom, oh, I'm doing presentation. They are presenting now, and I'm here doing something else, for example, or they are doing on their own. So that is flipped classroom. So, but I'm sure now, after many, many years, and there are so many, it has become a culture where and there are so many sharing and platforms of sharing best practices, or even we have innovative competition in teaching and learning. We have ACRI, we have AN, for example, as the uh, uh, recognition to recognize these like educators' innovation, for example, in teaching and learning. I'm sure that we are now moving to a stage where, you know, we are not there to finish our 100 slides, for example, but how we, because our students, they demand for engagement. They demand for, they want their voice to be heard. The most important thing is they want to be involved. Those are um, the one of the important characteristics of these Gen Z students. So, question, when we ask inquiry-based teaching approach, when we how does the students participation relate to the performance? When we have, for example, when blended learning was introduced in 2014, remember? Blended learning that we have, how many that we need to fulfill in blended learning online? Anyone? How many that we need to fulfill if for a blended learning supplement? How many percent of a course, of one course, that we need to fulfill to say that, okay, this course is blended?
30 to 79%.
30 to 79%. Okay. Uh, 30 to 79%, correct? So the normal practice is when we introduced in 2014, it was 30%. Okay, 30% blended. Remember that we need to have 7 resources in the learning management system. We need to have 3 exercise and 2 assessment, right? 1732. So that is 30 only with that criteria. That means we have fulfilled the 30% blended learning. Right. And one of the exercise that we do online is, for example, for online, one of the exercise is forum. Okay. So question, for example, this one, how does students' forum participation relate to their performance? When we post a question, do students participate in the exercise in the forum? And how does that show their performance? That's kind of question when we want to study, when we want to start working on eSoTL, simple action research in the classroom, we should start with that question, for example. How do what kind of tools that we need to, we can use for collecting data? So either through some universities, perhaps they have the learning analytics dashboard, or we can also have simple survey using Google Form, pre-survey and post-survey before they start the class, or you want to have the survey in the middle of the semester and then at the end of the semester. So we are not talking just about the normal teaching assessment that student give to evaluate the educators. We are talking about our class in doing our learning activities. Okay. And then from the data that we collect, it can be in the form of survey just now or e-portfolio. From there, how do we interpret the data? How do we draw the conclusion and how do we modify our approach from the comments or from the data that we have collected? And of course, at the end, when we talk about SoTL, is we share in to the public. It can be in many forms. Like for example, in my Center for Academic Development and Leadership Excellence, we produce quarterly newsletter. Okay, we call it the Kid Lead Putra newsletter, Kid Lead newsletter, and one of the section is about on the innovation in teaching and learning, and that is where lecturers share their teaching innovation in the classroom, and that can be part of the dissemination also, right? So of course, some I'm sure that those, especially from the educational background, when doing this action research and publish in the journal on innovation in teaching is a norm. But for most of the educators in different background, especially in science and technology and technical, we are more focusing in our life sciences or our background that, publishing about innovation in teaching and learning may not be the first priority. However, in certain universities, certain higher learning institution, SoTL is actually part of the criteria for promotion also. The paper that you publish through SoTLs are also part of the promotion criteria. So there are many. Okay, is there any question before we proceed about SoTL and eSoTL? No?
There is one question
Okay.
from from Dr. Mehmet. I could not get the point. What is the relationship between teaching, learning, and research methodology?
Teaching and learning and research methodology. Okay. Okay, when we research methodology here, when we talk about scholarship of teaching and learning, meaning that we are designing a simple research on how we what we want to know about the innovation or the approach that we use in teaching and learning. If we are designing what we call as action research. Action research means very specific focus that we want to study. So if, let's say, I'm doing project-based learning approach in my teaching and learning, I want to know whether that approach is the best way to teach that particular course. I want to know whether the approach, the project-based learning approach that I have designed is suitable. I want to know whether the students are learning better from the project-based learning approach that I designed for that particular course. I want to know how can I improve that approach that I just designed. I also want to know whether the innovation that I have introduced is impactful and that can be scaled up to other courses or can be shared to other educators. So the study, the action research that we want to do to gather all the data, we can use in many forms. Either we can just give them a survey, or you want to have interview with the students, You want to have a focus group discussion focusing on the design of the projects. So there are many ways, or you can just evaluate through their portfolio. So that is the research method that you want to explore when you want to design the action research in the study to improve your teaching and learning. That's that's how we relate with the research methodology. I hope it is answering on your question. You can always
Well,
unmute.
I mean, if you don't mind, may I say something to Prof.
Yes,
Zuhainis?
yes.
I mean, this is a research, what we understand. It's a complete work beyond our teaching learning activities. I guess, yes, it is meaningful, but we cannot do it practically. It is not the way we apply during our teaching learning activities. I'm sorry, maybe we can or I can suggest that someone accompanying us, let's say our master students, and by their assistance, we can do this one. At the same time, we cannot do teaching, learning activity, and researching what we have done in the classroom activities, beneficial or not, how we improve, how we elaborate, how we redesign. This is too complicated, I think. I'm sorry.
Well, when you have not done it or you have not ventured into it, you think it's complicated. But once you do it, it's not that complicated, because even without, okay, when we don't look at the softer part, even when we want to start our class, have you ever give them any kind of survey, a pre-survey, just to gauge their knowledge about about that particular course, for example? When they come into the class, you give them a Google form, a very short survey, just to know just for us to know what they know about that particular course that you are teaching for that semester. Or if we are not talking about the course, let's say for that particular topic, for example, have you ever give them a survey? Even that simple survey before and after class can be used. That data can be used for improvement. So now we can say that, okay, if let's say we don't give them a survey, right? What I did in my class is I give them an assignment. The first day, first semester student, when they come in, let's say, very quick one. My class is, let's say, on Tuesday and Thursday. First thing, because these are first semester students, they are very new, and this is my first class with them. I don't know them at all, and I want to know them better, and I want to know what do they know about microbiology. I'm teaching microbiology. So I give them an assignment. First of all, I give them, of course, using Padlet, and then ask them to introduce themselves, right? That would be the ice-breaking part. And then I give them an assignment. I said, please create a video, okay? Create a video. In that video, you introduce yourself, where you're from, and what is your background. And then tell me about what do you know about microbiology? What do you want to know about microbiology? That's it. That was just simple instruction. And that to be submitted in the next class. I remember I have 51 students at that time, and I received 51 videos. Okay. And when I receive the videos, they are in many forms because I did not dictate. Or you must use, at that time, there was no even Canva. You must use a certain tool for the video. No. But when I receive the video, there are in many forms. In the documentary form, in animation, they use Powtoon. They use, at that time, we have also used Loom, for example, video scribe. There are many in many form, interactive animations, and they use. So you see, what do you think when you receive these type of products? Okay, the task that you give them, and you receive this. What can from that task, simple task, what can you tell about your students? From my experience, from that task, I know, okay, who actually put more efforts, who are more passionate, who are, just trying to explore. And you can also see that, oh, these students, they know how to use these tools, for example, for learning, for doing the task, for completing the task without being uh, uh, given any detailed instruction what to use and how to use. So that is the first thing that I can tell about my student. And during and of course the whole semester you'll be doing all of the activities. I don't get and then at the end of the before the end of the semester, I get I asked them to do a final video. Okay, first during the first day, I asked you to do what to know, what do you want to know about microbiology? What do you know about microbiology? What do you want to know about microbiology? And then at the end of the semester, I want them to learn to have another video telling us about what have they learned about microbiology. And from the data, you see, from at the end of the semester, I get a lot of these videos saying, oh, now I learn better. I know about before this. I have one a student who actually said, "Oh, congratulations, doctor! You have made me love microbiology." In the earlier video, she said that it's not even her choice, for example. But now I love microbiology. So those data that you are collecting are all evidence, and that data can be documented and published. And that publication is actually how you disseminate the your information, or the sharing of what you have what you have done and what you have gathered in your classroom. And that is not something that, extra that you have to do, but as part of your task, as part of your teaching and learning activities. And that is definitely not complicated at all. As simple as that. Okay? So let us, explore this SoTL with a open heart, open mind, and not not looking at complicated approach that will block your mind to, to explore and to try to work on it. Okay, so perhaps when you get intimidated when we see learning analytics dashboard and all this text mining and sentiment analysis, I'm just showing examples that I personally also have not done on the text mining, for example. But my focus is more on the e-portfolio and structured peer review approach, and I'm saying this is I put that this from I forgot to put some of the references, resources, strategies. There are also many other strategies, but I think from my study, I get identify these three approaches or strategies that can help you in designing your eSoTL. Okay. Give me 1 minute. I just want to switch on the. Okay. So when we talk about learning analytic dashboard, okay? So learning analytic dashboard can be visualized through LMS. It can also be through certain tools, Web 2.0 tools. Okay, perhaps later I'll show you one of the tools. I don't have the screenshot here, but I have the screenshot for the learning analytics on the LMS dashboard. Let's say if you in your teaching and learning, you use a lot of videos, for example, right? And because you're doing flipped classroom and you want to get your students to be prepared before class, so you give them video and you use tools like Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle will actually provide you when you give video, they can give you they will you can add questions, you can add quizzes, and Edpuzzle also provide you the analytics on how long that the student, for example, they show you how long the students spend time in doing the quizzes, whether or not the students, complete the quizzes, they give you that analytics. That is part of the learning analytics that you can use in your SoTL. So if you focusing on the video, you can either use that kind of tools, or learning analytic dashboard also can show how much time that you spend for a topic in your learning management system, right? And like in UPM, for example, when through our learning management system, or LMS, we are using Moodle, right? And we get notification if, for example, after 2 weeks, for example, or after 2 weeks, after 10 days, I can't remember, we will get a notification for those students who have not even log into the course yet to get all the notes and information. We'll get notification. These students are at risk. That was the notification, So sort of like alarming for the learning process, because, how come you not explore the learning management system, where that's the place where you get all the information for your classes, right? So that notification is already will send to our email saying that these are the list of students, or these are the students who have not logged into the system. And that can be easily done by your IT technical people. And that is if we have this learning analytic dashboard. And the dashboard usually will visualize how the data, what kind of data, the login, the resource view, the downloaded materials, how much of the forum, the interaction in the forum, and how many times of the quiz attempts. That also referring to how you manage your quizzes, for example. Sometimes we give a few attempts for the quizzes, some maybe just 1 or 2, right? So that can be easily extract from the learning management system dashboard, learning analytic dashboard. And why do we want to, to get all this data? Because now this is not about us. Come back to this is not about us. This is about the students. We know that we are teaching them and we do this, but we want to know how much that they have learned. And if you have a lot of students, if you have a few students, or many students, you still need to know how much that they have learned, and we want to make sure that there are students who we do not want our students to be left behind, right? So through this, we can see how much they are engaged with your class, with the materials that you have shared with them, the exercise, the activities. And like you can see the students when we actually from the forum posts in the LMS, you can also identify who are the students who never responded to the post, right? And that can be done through automated plugins in the learning management system, right? Okay, so this is example. This is Canvas. Some higher learning institution, they use Canvas or blackboards, especially the private institution. This one from the Moodle learning analytics. You can see how many there are, active learners and weekly activity, whether they participate or not, right? And how much of the course overview or of the slides that they have downloaded, videos that they have watched, you can actually have it in your dashboard. You can identify the dashboard that the activities that you have done. Okay. So the other strategy that I mentioned earlier, number 2 is on the e-portfolio and peer review. So this is one actually my favorite one when we talk about action research, because this is also can be part of your assignment, because my approach in my teaching and learning is always project based, right? So I have lectures, I have projects, and that projects when I give them is quite big, at least about 30% for the whole course assessment, right? And e-portfolio is a must, right? So although we have lectures, but we have since I'm a project-based approach, we also have project progress meetings by group that is not done during class, right? So we have scheduled it for the whole semester, and the findings, the projects, artifacts, we call it artifacts. The product from the projects will be compiled and curated in the form of digital artifacts in the e-portfolio, right? And the students have to reflect. The narrative in the portfolio must be a reflection journal approach. And we assess the e-portfolio through rubrics, right? And some of the universities, like University Technology Malaysia, for example, they use a platform called Mahara, for example, to compile the students' e-portfolio. Like for me, we don't have dedicated platform for e-portfolio. So students have the freedom to choose what platform or what tools they use for e-portfolio. And through portfolios, not just about curation of the artifacts, not just curation, compiling of the products, but it will also give you, through their reflections, it can be structured or not structured. Okay, for example, in the e-portfolio, you can identify what are the questions that you want your students to answer. Perhaps like, okay, describe three most interesting things about this course. One of the for that particular topic, what are the most muddiest points, okay, that you want to that you have, for example, so that it can be structured. And of course you want the rest is about how they can reflect on their experiences in doing the project for the whole semesters. And when we want them to reflect, it will also create the certain skill set that we call it as metacognitive skills, that they have to reflect on what they have done and how does it help them to improve as a microbiologist, as a future microbiologist, right? And during the and that portfolio, it can be in many forms. It can be in Canva, it can be in the form of videos, it can be in in podcasts, or in many form. But to make it easier for your assessment, you would want to identify to determine for that particular form for that particular semester batch of student. Perhaps you want to identify what type of e-portfolio that you want them to submit, in what format, right? And you can see that students, although you can see that in the class they may be very quiet or they don't speak up much, but in terms of videos, for example, they can be very very productive and very creative and innovative. Okay, so of course, through this portfolio, you have to assess, then you have to have a rubric for the e-portfolio. I have this, for example, the rubric for digital reflective journal. I call it as reflective journal because I want the e-portfolio to be a diary for the student, like a journal, okay, learning journal for them. Okay, so the products from the e-portfolio can be in many forms. It can be in the form of videos, reports can be in the form posters, essay. It can be, you can have a Padlet full of portfolios also, So it's about how the students will be able to reflect and also make a conclusion or summarize on what they learn. And how you're going to give the portfolio also is up to you. Either you want them to submit in weekly, or in the form of weekly, or by topics, or by tasks, by assignment, it's up to you, right? You can design. And again, the content of the e-portfolio also is up to you. You can design it with your student. You can ask your student, what do you want to have in the e-portfolio together? That is also part of the characteristic of 21st century educators that I've shared before, that you have to be a co-creator, co-developer, co-learners, right? Learning together with them. And this is just examples, like in students having their portfolio in the weekly, and these students did it in Padlet, for example, and many other, or they can have it in PDF, for example, and they find one platform and they share it. Or even students that, when they come in to our class, they actually have their own blog. Now they have a new page for a blog for their reflective journal, for their e-portfolio in for the class. These are blogs also. This one last time was using blank space. This is Padlet. Even, it's supposed to be a culture, because like during the first class, right? The first class, the first practice of reflection is when I give them a Padlet and ask them on what they know about microbes, for example, and at the end of the class, they have to reflect. So how do you feel about your first class? Right? So they do their reflection during class. So that's the practice, during the first. Through project-based, for example, when we ask them to do e-portfolio, this is one example when I give them a service learning microbiology project-based that we, I think I shared with you before, on how we work together with this is combining 4 courses in one semester to design a huge project-based approach where students need to identify issues in the poultry supply chain from farm to fork, from farm to the table, for example. And they have to come up with this portfolio. And this e-portfolio, for example, a student created it in the form of a magazine. Okay, a magazine. So this is just one example. In the magazine, they reflect on what are the processes that they have gone through during the project, and what do they have to come up with, because they have to come up with a prototype and they have to pitch for it in a competition. And of course, they will have feedback and reflection. And when they produce the e-portfolio, I give them also the freedom what they want to use. So these are some of the examples that my students have used these platforms, use these tools for their e-portfolio. Okay. So from the e-portfolio, right? It can how do we use it for publication, right? How do we use it to investigate the findings, right? So, of course, in social sciences, there are also software like NVivo, for example, that's in text mining. That will be in the next one. Text mining and sentiment analysis using tools like NVivo or Python script to analyze verbatim, right? Or this is if we are using tools, right? Analyzing the feedback or the reflection. And if it is through surveys, for example, right? So we can compile the data from the discussion post, from the forum, the survey responses, and then from the portfolios, and we can run through these qualitative analysis tools like NVivo, for example. This software is to detect the common theme. We can use it for sentiment trends and keyword frequencies that will summarize the data, and you can decide what you want to extract from that data. And now with so many AI tools that help you to analyze you can also use to analyze data. And because you see, when you have like 10, 20, 30, 40 students, it's okay. It's easy. But when you have hundreds of students, when they give hundreds of open-ended comments, and let's say if you have weekly data portfolios, for example, that you need to analyze. So for 30 students, right? So these text mining and automated analysis software will help you to visualize or to also summarize the trends and the patterns in the feedback. And this data, you can use it, to identify the gaps. What are the issues in terms of even you can have it if you were using the discussion post as the data, you can identify whether or not, for that particular course, which topics that are most difficult, that you need intervention, that you need to introduce more activities or more formative assessment so that they can understand better. So this is not about finishing the syllabus. Oh, I don't have time to do all this because, I need to finish my syllabus. Question is, if you finish the syllabus, do you know how much that they have learned? If you finish your syllabus, do you know that, these are the things that they have gauged, and these are the things that they're going to use it, that prepare them for the next semester classes, right? And do you know that these are the skills that the attitude, the values that they have gauged, that they have acquired during your class, right? So that's why earlier when Lee Schumann said it's not about it's not about how for us, for the lecturers. It's about how we can use this to intervene, stop for a while, pause for a while at the scene, and then identify how we can improve. Excuse me. So there are many examples where we can see there are many journals that have been published on SoTL. We have you see, when we look at for example, engineering courses, for example, when they have 300 students, let's say, or more, how do they intervene when especially in terms of when the approach is mostly is project-based approach or problem-based approach or case studies, for example, and these students in engineering or technical courses or programs, they need more intervention. Okay, they need to be they are at risk in terms of if they are left behind. So how do we intervene? How do we help them to ensure that they are not left behind? How do we ensure that they are in line, okay, with our pace in the topics? How do we know that they need help if they don't speak up? And how do we know that this student, because engineering student, they need to be on track in terms of the knowledge and the skill sets. So what are the examples in the engineering studies that we can use it for data analytics? How can you create a very from your, let's say if it's not a specific action research that you're going to do, how do you create how do you gather data to know that these students are learning? Why I'm choosing engineering? Because I think this is one of the crucial program, when we talk about producing an engineer. Of course, they have their own professional bodies that ensure the quality of the programs. But in terms, we thought that the perception is okay. These engineering educators, they it's very difficult to be innovative in teaching and learning. But I think for me, engineering is one of the most how to say, you can be very innovative in designing teaching and learning in engineering courses, because it has to be hands-on. It has to be involving the students. Anyone want to share Any case studies or any ni? Or from the engineering program in the engineering courses? I'm sure that we have engineering lecturers here.
Anyone from engineering?
Dr. Malik is from engineering.
Dr. Malik from engineering.
I'm from engineering, but
Uh-huh.
most of my courses are ICT based.
Oh, ICT based. Okay. Well, ICT based also. You can also work on something like on the okay. There are two things here. One is we are designing our teaching and learning and how we can relate to the real world situation, right? We have to treat this sort of like business, like business as usual in terms of teaching and learning so that we don't see it as an extra workload. Why I say business as usual? Because that is what we are doing now. We are innovating in our classroom and we just want to get to have some data so that we know that we are not like we say shock sendiri lah, or we think that we are good enough, that is how we teach and we think that we are good enough. We never ask how we can improve. So, for example, food process technology, food process engineering, right? We have how can you get student to apply to make sense of what they're learning in engineering, food processing engineering, for example. Anyone? Even that is not in the food in the engineering program also background. How do you make sense of what they're learning in food processing? Why I say food processing? Because it can also be it can relate to other backgrounds also, because food kan everybody knows about food. I'm not talking about building a bridge or using drone, for example, in aero angkasa, in aerospace. How do you get students to make sense of what they are learning in food processing? Anybody want to try?
Anyone from food processing?
Or not from food processing, or from any background, language ke? Tak ada? They must be thinking, this is webinar. Why we need to answer questions, right? This is not a workshop. We have
Asking for their reflection in the chat.
okay. We have 140 people here. So let's see. Verbally or written or in written form. Yeah. Asking for their reflection verbally on written form. That is what Muhammad Firdaus mentioned. Only one. Okay, that is like giving written form can be in the form of e-portfolio, right? Or report or journal just now. But what kind of project that you think that you can design for them to make sense of what they're learning? And how from there, how we can use it for SoTL. What we do is that SoTL. Get feedback on their satisfaction. Okay, it's about feedback. That is later. How we design, what kind of project that you think that we want, that we can design for them.
Use a sample product and then
sample project. Please, can I have the attendance? Okay. I'm asking you question, you ask me for the attendance. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Simulation, yes. Dr. Amri mentioned about simulation. Okay. Food processing simulation. That's good. So you can ask them to create videos and to simulate. Okay, so I give you one example, right? for food processing, I'm just thinking out loud, right? For food processing, let's say if you can identify a community, okay, a community dekat luar, in the kampung, in other or any villages or any person that you have that you know, and then this community they actually produce food, makanan, kuih, maybe kuih for kuih raya, or what they use, example senang is biscuit, raya biscuit. Okay, they produce raya biscuit for they're selling this community, this kampung, they produce raya biscuit. Okay, and then and you get the students to, so you can combine like service learning with engineering courses. For example, you identify the community and they are doing these food products, for selling food products, and then you get to know them to identify what are the issues in the production of the food. Okay, in the production of the, when they want to do the kuih and the biscuits, for example, what are the issues? And then if you think that come back and to the class and discuss what are the issues, brainstorm on how you as an engineering student can help them to perhaps like automate the process, or how can they improve the productivity through the food processing engineering. And then after you have come up with the proposed solution, work with the community, and then after that come back again, work with the lecturers, your lecturers, and then come up with the prototype. Okay, and these are working in group. So how do you know that your prototype is going to work? Who are the people that you can work with that prototype? Then try to get those food processing food company, for example, from the industry to come. You can create like a competition, and then the food industry people together with the food community people can be the judges, can be the jury. You pitch for your product, for the solution that you want to help the community. And for all you know, from that solution, you get feedback from the industry, and that prototype can be even be materialized into practice. So how can this be a SOTL? How can this be an action research? Okay, what do you think? People. Dah keluar people I ni. 138 ni. How can you use it as a sorter?
If Dr. Wan have started to call people, that's
Uh-uh.
the hint.
Okay, Dr. Amir mentioned simulate the process of packing using robotic arm with some constraint.
Prof. Amir is from mechatronics, so he
Prof.
will always
Amir.
use, he will always use robots. So Prof. Amir.
Oh, robots, okay. Robots to produce biscuits, Prof. Role play is good, but let's say now if we were to combine role play, you can do it in your classroom, right? So in the role play, you have you have the manager, you have the technical, the engineer, you have uh uh this you have that scenario, and then you have the role, the characters. But that happened in the classroom. But we want it to be bigger. We want it to have, students to have more engagement, because now they have to go outside the classroom. What skill set that do you think that they acquire when they work with other people? They work people with the industry, how they talk to the industry, how they talk to the community, to identify issues with the community. How do they relate or how do they communicate their findings, their proposed solution to the community, and how do they pitch to the industry? And that can happen within that 14 weeks.
Yes.
Prof. Amir said, you can always vary the constraints, like include field data. Exactly. Marketing data, yes. You want to get the students to value the value of the prototype, for example. You can get them to, come up with the ROI, return of investment, and return of values, not return of just the ROI. And that is one part. The other part is, okay, after I have with this prototype and then validated by the industry, you can also sort of then, okay, get them to work on the promoting their product. How do they promote their product? These students now, they don't even use TikTok. They said TikTok is all for the mother, father, and grandmothers and grandfathers. Now they have this TikTok and IG and all, right? So they don't use Facebook or YouTube anymore. So how we get them to promote their product? We get them to pitch. And we can even design okay, you have this pitching for competition with the industry. Now you want to get more likes, through TikToks, and how you promote your product. Simulate that kind of simulation also. So see how many people will actually buy your products, right? So what I'm trying to say is, let's say if you have this kind, you can actually design the whole semester project in the, you can actually design the whole semester topics course in the form of project based. You can you can have a few lectures for perhaps the first 4 weeks, and the next 10 weeks is all about the projects. And do you think that, oh, if I don't give lecture, I don't give that slide, if I don't finish the slides in that semester, they are not learning. But what I'm trying to say is, they are learning by doing. Learning by doing. They are doing it through this experiential learning. So, and how do you collect all these data to as evidence for teaching and learning SoTL? Because of course, just now, Prof. Amir mentioned about the data from the industry. You get testimony, feedback from the industry. You see how the students may the industry may think can give feedback and comment of how the students' performance, knowledge, for example, the attitude that one can easily get from the industry. Of course, you have to interview the industries, right? And then interview the communities that they have involved with. From those will become the data. And then how we analyze the data, just now, qualitative analysis, and then lastly we can actually publish it.
Sorry, Dr. Can I
Yes,
add
yes, Prof.
something? Because I'm trying to reflect upon your example just now. So means because we want to tie this to SoTL, right? And
Yes.
some of the things that you mentioned just now, for example, what the students were able to do, those are kind of like the output of learning. But from our perspective as a lecturer, as an instructor, what we can learn from the journey is how do they grasp the concept that we have been delivering in the class, whether we have delivered effectively or
Sorry, Dr. Mira, we cannot hear your voice clearly.
Okay, how about now? Is it
Oh,
better?
now better. Yes, yes.
Sorry, I didn't realize. Yeah, so what I understood is that we should one thing we want to look at the product of learning, but on the same time, from SoTL perspective, we want to have a look on the delivery, right? The delivery, how we actually convey the class concept and how they grasp that and implement that in the process. So looking at the example that you mentioned just now, can the student understood the concept that I have delivered in the class or in some of the videos that I recorded, for example, and can they bring that to the assessment, and whether the instructions that we are giving is clear? So that's a surely will not be able to be reflected from the product of learning, but we can see that from the journey, right? So that's why the reflection is kind of important on how they relate things that we've given in the class to how they implement that in real life scenarios. Would that
Yes.
be something that you are trying to convey as well? So the not just the product of learning, but also the
Yeah.
process of learning itself?
Yes. So when we when I mentioned about designing the project in that manner, of course we say that the students will have to come back to the class or to the group and discuss about brainstorm about the solution and then come up with the prototype. Now, what I did not mention is during that process we will be there. We have to be there to guide them, to coach them, and discuss with them, because that will be the learning process that we need to be we need to emphasize, because they can have their own peer learning approach. Of course, that is what we call as pedagogy or paragogy, right? But at the same time, when we design a project base, it doesn't mean that we are going to leave it just among the learning from their peers only. These type of projects need to be structurally designed so that the students will know that when they need to work with their peers and when do they get a discussion with the coaches. So the earlier when I mentioned the 21st century educators as co-learners, co-developers, we are also as a facilitator. So this is where we come in and facilitate them and guide them. They may come up with that prototype, but that prototype we can we need to relate to the topic that we are discussing in our that we have in that course for the semester. So we say that, okay, based on this topic, for example, based on this design, how do you relate, and how is whether this is practical or not practical, to do it. So that is where learning happens, and not just through, okay, when we have to do prototype, and okay, we just come up with the prototype and pitch for it, that's it. But we have to the knowledge behind developing the prototype, for example, it has to be conveyed and it has to work with us, and we have to guide them. If not, they will be lost, and they will think that whatever that they propose is actually correct. So that will also, when we do this type of project, the element of research will come in also, because they will, you see, the element of research, when they come up with the proposed solution, they have to do some study, they have to do their homework, they have to look for papers, they have to look for they have to look for journals, for example, that kind of research that they have to do, so that when they design the prototype or the solution, it's actually validated. They are trained to to make a statement. They are trained to come up with a solution with supporting data also. Okay, they cannot just simply come up with a solution without any data to support, because that means we are not training them. Okay, that is the process of learning in terms of I mean specifically for this type of projects. So generally, when we talk about any type of project-based approach or project problem-based approach, we have to be there to guide them. Okay, and the learning process can varies also. You can, you see, for me, I always have my approach is always, you know, we have this small group discussion, and then whatever the finding is to be shared in the class. So then other groups can give their comments on the other group's proposal or prototype or whatever. So that also, the peer learning approach and the facilitation combined together will create more impactful learning experience for the student. And the project that I gave an example just now, it started with just simple community project with producing having issues in producing their scale up their apa biskut raya, for example, right? But you involve the students to work with the community, you get industry to work with your students to help to solve the problems in the community, and you get industries, you get them to have the element of research to develop their analytical thinking when they come up with the solution and propose prototype, for example. And those are to be reflected in their reports or in the portfolios, and or you ask them to create a, you know, an abstract. You know, instead of just pitching competition, you can even have like some kind of proceeding, some kind of apa tu, mini symposium, for example. And you see, those data, when the students now not just you producing the how you teach or your innovation, but you get your students to publish also. So that mini symposium, you can get the students to write a brief paper, you know. So let's say if you have 10 groups, then you have 10 papers in that small mini symposium or mini proceedings, and you can get it published. It can be published under your university's publication, or you can publish in the form of a newsletter, or just a, you know, simple booklet that you want to share with others. So you know, from small design active learning in the classroom, it can be like a bigger project-based approach.
You mentioned also, like when doing the project, we also involve the skill set like critical thinking, communication, teamwork, and many more. But do we also assess that skill set?
Okay, it depends on your CLO then, the course learning outcome, right? Although if based on this project, I do believe you cover all the skill set, leadership, teamwork, and now with the education for sustainable development key competencies, you can relate on that key competencies also. What kind of key competencies, the ESD competencies that you think you can have in this type of project? Apa, zero hunger ke? That is the SDG. Tapi key competency, either this is, for me, I nampak if this kind of project, it can be systems thinking. Systems thinking where students will be able to identify issues, identify to problems in different domain, other factors that contribute to the different domains, and then try to solve it. Systems thinking or integrated problem solving competencies, that is part of the ESD competencies also. But if it is documented in your CLOs, course learning outcomes, you have to assess. If not, you know, even you don't assess also, you know that, you know, these project will be able to student will acquire these skill set. You have other question, or what do you think? I just hope that approach of project based can trigger ideas from you when designing your projects. Okay, how about humanities? How about in social sciences and humanities? In terms of, producing e-portfolios, what kind of projects?
Assalamualaikum, Doktor.
Salam.
Dr. Aizat here. So for social science, for my cases, I'm teaching TESOL student, basically those who are minor in IT, instruction and technology. So one of the courses that they are required to take is fundamentals of multimedia technology. So basically they learn about the theories and everything regarding designing and so on. So one of the project that inspired by Dr. Shukri, basically, I was taking the class from him.
Okay.
What we did is that we asked them to do a promotional poster promoting a service of redesigning or revamping the slide deck for lecturers or even teachers. So when they do that, when they finish with the ads, most of them, not most of them, but basically all of them, they get clients from lecturers, some from IIM, some from outside IIM, which they pay for the service lah, basically. So from there's one of the good feedback that I got from the student is that they think that they never discover that this kind of thing can generate some income for them. So it is good for them and also serve to the community of lecturers. Well, we need to admit that some of lecturers is not really good in designing their own slide deck. So this kind of service might help lecturers and also benefit students in terms of making money and also applying what they have learned in class, basically. So that is one of my case lah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Dr. Aizat. I met you before, right?
Yeah, we met a lot of time.
Yeah. Okay, congratulations. That's a very good example, and I'm glad that the students first they get to use their skills in multimedia production, and at the same time the entrepreneurial mindset, right,
Yes.
has been instilled to them. Okay, so from your examples, how do you think that you can or whether or not you have sort of share this with other people in any platforms, or how do you get the students to the products are their promotion products or the multimedia?
Some platform that we use is basically the social medias and
Okay.
also chat groups, basically. So because they are targeting several group of people, not really a wide audience of people, because we are targeting like educators and so on. So we target the ads towards groups of people and work groups within their context, I would believe. Yeah.
Okay, and knowing Dr. Shukri, of course,
Yeah.
you'll be using e-portfolio also.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I just want to share with you and the team here. I work with Arwah Dr. Rose in IUM.
Yeah.
Her student with the TESOL student, minor in ID, instructional design. Right. So we created a project, transdisciplinary, with my student, microbiology student, Kenapa tak nampak muka? Okay, microbiology student, and then microbiology student, and then Dr. Rose student is ID, TESOL ID just now, and with another group from USM, pre-service teacher teaching special education. Okay, so what we did was, my course is service learning in microbiology. So what we do is, the idea was, these three group of students from different background, our target is to come up with a module that can help the teachers, the special ed teacher in the school, to teach about microbiology.
I see.
No, not about microbiology, to teach about microbes. As simple
Okay.
as about microbe. This special education student, they teach student with people with disability, right? People with autism and all. And we want to teach them about microbes. So for example, how you wash your hand. What if you don't wash your hand properly? What are the microbes that you can find on your hand? You know, if you if you find like dirty surface and all those kind of things, what are the microbe possible that you can find on the table, and how can you get rid of them, for example. So my students are actually the subject matter expert on microbes, right? So they come up with the content, give it to the TESOL ID just now, to create a module for the special ed teachers, the pre-service teacher. So what we did was, we come up with a module teaching microbes to the special ed student, and we get the students to and then we publish it as a MOOC at that time, about hygiene at that time, and then we get the students to go to the special education sekolah khas ni, special ed school, to teach the teachers on how to teach the students. So
I see.
from there, of course, lastly, we come up with the e-portfolio. You see, you get first, what can they learn? My students will learn on how to do instructional design yang tak pernah belajar on ID, right? Because they learn about microbe je. And then now both of us, microbiology student and this TESOL student, they are learning with the pre-service teachers about special education. And when they go to the schools, they meet, you know, they actually met with the teachers and met with the students, and you can imagine how they feel when, you know, whatever that they have developed are actually helping the kids, for example.
Yeah.
So, tak payah cakap lah pasal what are the skill set tu. You decide what are the skill set that. And first of all,
Yes.
you know, they were thinking, oh, we didn't know that learning microbiology can be this fun, you know, for example. So what kind of learning process is that? That, you know, how we interpret that. And well, of course, at that time, we just come out as a MOOC. So that is the way how we share it, that we interpret as that is how we share it with other, in how we publish and disseminate that, so that it can be used by others. But I'm sure if it is like, you know, from a social science education background, they can see it, and you can actually get from the testimonial, from the reflection, you know, you can publish in journal also. So that is one of the way. I mean, what you did was like was very you know, amazing, getting the student to realize, you know, what they do is actually they can even have generate income.
Yeah.
Kan?
But one of the students did mention that she generate around 200 something to 300 just for 2 or 3 slide decks. So she was really happy.
Right, yes. You know, those are all the things that we want to first we want to pique their curiosity to, you know, and then we unleash their creativity, and also we instill the interest. And for all you know, due to that, you know, because of their interest, then create the passion and enthusiasm for learning, right? So that again, congratulations, Dr. Aizat.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, so that is for humanities, right? Social science. How about where's my slide? How about sentiment driven correction? How do you this is also like social science. Okay. Actually, I took this in one of the examples in one of the universities overseas. I don't want to mention any universities, but there was a case study that they did on this sentiment driven, they call it a sentiment driven corrections, where students are being like, you know, in one of the social sciences courses, students are being stereotyping, you know, stereotype. So how do you get your student to it is part of not directly part of your course, but you know, you can develop that because in teaching and in Einstein said, kata apa? Einstein said, I don't teach my student, I create an environment in which they can learn, right? So how do you create environment that, you know, that when they come into your class, they feel safe, right? They know that they can speak out their minds. They know that these are the people that they want to work with. And if you actually create that environment, I can assure you that you won't have issues in their attendance, right? So, what I'm trying to say is, for this kind of through a SoTL, you can also create a more positive environment, or more positive feedbacks. You know, you get positive. You try to create the learning environment that will be with positive vibes. If you can see, but it has to be embedded in your task, so that it will not be that like obvious, right? And we know that, you know, when we talk about getting feedback, comments, not through normal survey interviews, then you have to use the qualitative analysis. And I'm sure that in the faculties, or in your kuliah, or in the universities, perhaps there are people who, especially from the social sciences, have subscribed to NVivo tool. I think NVivo tool is one of the most common tool that used for qualitative analysis, and can easily visualize your data, right? So there are also, besides having e-portfolio and all, I see a lot of these educators doing one-to-one oral interview. Okay, that happened also. I met a few educators from UPM and from other universities who have done this one-to-one oral interview, just to get feedback from the students on their experience, be it in projects, that assignments, or how they want to improve the course, the learning activities, the approaches, even of course, sometimes, you know, when we talk about environment, the ecosystem include the infrastructure and the infrastructure. So that will also contribute to your maybe one of the factors that can help to improve your teaching and learning. So that can be done also, right? Okay, so this is by McKinney's, Kathleen McKinney's, actually, Kathleen McKinney's eSoTL cycle. So again, when we want to, we should treat this as how we can improve our learning. So we need to identify what are the questions that we want to ask. Does our innovation does our approach is practical, or does our approach need find some kind of fine tuning? What are the improvement that we can do? So when we want to start to embark in this, we can perhaps identify what are the questions that you want to have in your study, and then when you design it, you want to identify what are the approach that you're going to do. Are you going to use survey? And then if you want to use survey, what will be the tools, the digital instrument that you will use? Well, are you going to use SurveyMonkey, or just simple Google form, or Jot form, for example, right? And then after you collect all the data, of course, you need to analyze it, right? In any form, using analytics or coding or ChatGPT or NVivo, for example, and then reflect. It's very important. Oh, sorry, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3. 3 is missing here. Okay. So that's an image. Okay. 3. You analyze and you reflect, and then of course, during the process of reflection, you can identify what are things that you can improve. And do not be intimidated, or do not be afraid of getting students' feedback, in while doing this, because I'm sure because of your approach and your innovation, student will be excited to share their reflection, how their comments and feedback, and how we can together can improve. Because for me, for example, from one project, I the evolution is actually from one project, from the same project, the approach is different. First, maybe using the digital scrapbook, and then you do different presentation. Even in presentation, also different type of presentation. I'm sure that you have seen my slide before on presentation, where instead of just normal presentation, I use 3MT approach, and then pecha kucha, for example, and then now pitching, for example. So it's still in the form of presentation. And from there, this is my way of share it and disseminate, like my slides, my videos, my sharing, webinar, seminar, workshops. That's how I disseminate my findings. And of course, in UPM, we have this what we call as the that help students, that help our lecturers in designing their, not just their scholar SoTL, also in delivery and also assessment, right? And I think Dr. Malik mentioned earlier, that was with the e-learning group last time in ARCAP, that we published this e-learning and interactive lecture, SoTL case studies in Malaysia higher education. Although they put their SoTLs, but because we are using, there are SoTLs and eSoTL also here, where we use tools and we capture data physically and digitally. This is combining with all the 20 public universities at that time. And we have, I'm sure that other universities, I saw some publication by UTM, University Technology Malaysia, on scholarship of teaching and learning at UTM, and this is from UPM, for example. And you see, from what kind of initiatives that university can help to promote SoTL in the in an institution. I give you an example from UPM. We have this what we call as grant incentive pengajaran pembelajaran, grant incentive in teaching and learning, or GIPP. This grant started with 2000. We started in 2008, I think, a long time ago, and we get the allocation, the funding from the Research Management Center for these grants, innovation in teaching and learning. It started with only like 5,000, 6,000 per grant, and then we raised up to 10,000, and now each grant, each proposal can, the ceiling is up to 20,000. So every year we open up these grants, and certain years that we identify the theme, the theme for the grants. These grants, for example, like last year, this year, the grant is like we identify the theme, for example, on micro credentials, in service learning in Sulam, and we have on lifelong learning, gamification, for example, right? So the educators have to come up with a proposal, and we have the set of evaluated committee to evaluate the proposal, and they need to pitch. The shortlisted will need to pitch for the proposal, and then only we award them the grant. And the grant is about for 1 year or 1.5 year research study. So that is SoTL actually, right? So whether they use digital instrument, if they publish it in journal, and they use all the digital instrument, and they get the analytics from the online learning environment, then it become eSoTL. But the big umbrella is actually SoTL. So that's how we promote SoTL or eSoTL in UPM. So I hope that today my sharing will hopefully it benefit everyone. And again, thank you so much for your kind attention and participation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much. I'm not sure whether we can listen to a background noise. Suddenly there is a heavy renovation right next to me.
Oh, I can't hear it.
Can I hear? Okay, that's good.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Good. But it's really heavy, heavy wall hacking.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, so thank you very much, Dr. Wan, for this very interesting session. Perhaps Prof. Mira would like to say some words.
Yeah. Okay. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Wan, for spending. I know you are very busy, and I know right after this you have another meetings. It's a back to back as always. So thank you so much for setting aside your time with us, and hopefully you have inspired. I'm very sure you have inspired me, and I'm very sure you have also inspired others to look at things beyond just business as usual. So the things that we do in class is not just passing all the teaching materials, all the slides, but it's something that is so impactful on ourselves that we are building a future civilizations. We are building a future leaders. So it has to be wholeheartedly, it has to be assessed, it has to be strategized. And because I keep hearing that I don't have any ideas for research. I'm just focusing on teaching. So now, even though you are focusing on teaching, you still have ideas for research because you're teaching, because becomes your input for research, things that you do in the class, how you scaffold, how you design the instrument for assessment, that becomes a trigger on an input for research. It's on its own. So hopefully today, everyone, all of us, have able to see the light at the end of the tunnels. Yes, we can do research, inshallah, and we can help our publications. You can help all the grants that we are planning to apply. So you can see that it can also come from your teaching as well. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Wan, and thank you for Dr. Malik and Sister Uzma from CPD for arranging the session today. And thank you so much for all the participants. I have seen a lot of seniors in the sessions. So thank you so much, Prof. Amir, Prof. Abdulaziz, for joining the sessions today. Prof. Rusni, the fact that you are here, that speaks a volume that all of us really care about scholarship of teaching and learning. So again, Jazakumullah khair, Barakallahu fikum wa alaikum jami'an. As usual, I think we have to record this, right? With an SOP, taking a pictures, is that right? Dr. Malik?
Yeah, sorry, I cannot listen to the voice properly.
Oh, okay. All right. So is it okay now?
No, I think because of the noise, the
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we take picture then.
Okay. So anyone
Want to
would
open?
like your face to be recorded as part of our report?
Thank you for spending time this morning.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, ready?
Not yet. Dr. Wan, you're too fast. Wait.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else would like to share your? Okay. So if everyone's here, okay, on count of three, one. On count of three, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Right. I will record it. Okay, nice. Okay, thank you so much. And again, Jazakumullah khair, I'll pass back the sessions to Dr. Malik. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Sorry, I cannot end the session properly due to heavy hacking behind me.
We
Alright,
can't do anything.
you don't
Maybe you have that sound silencer.
not canceling. All right, so
Okay.
I guess Alhamdulillah, that's the end of our event for today. So I would like to thank all the speakers, Associate Professor Technology Dr. Wan Zuhainis for delivering a very interesting topics. And we would also like to thank all the participants for attending the talk, and make sure you don't forget to fill up the evaluation form that will be emailed to you and also has been posted in the chat box area. All right, and thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, Dr. Raini. Bye.